boxing,
beats and rhymes.
No one can do it better.
Don Charles is deep on fire right now.
Bumbleclad shoot up on fire, man.
I'm telling you, it come like Daniel didn't win the fight. He's so mad.
Yo, you know what it's about, so let's tell him why you mad, you know what I'm saying?
First person to get it was Spencer FEARON and his accusations of Daniel's dad being on some AKA Juju Bantan, and that there was a fallout with Don and the camp why he didn't turn up to none of the media events.
Have you spoke to Spencer FEARON about that?
Right. Before we started this, I should have told you I don't want to hear that name. Ever. Ever. Yeah, ever.
Forever?
Ever. It's personal.
Okay. We'll leave that one there.
And this ain't no threat, so take it personal.
Then Ben Davison caught the smoke. He indirectly said that you would think that the Olympic gold medalists would be taught how to block a jab. And there's more.
They said we couldn't do it. They said it was a mismatch. And Ben Davison, I have to name it. Ben, you have to learn. Somebody sent it to me. It was so blasé. Yeah, you know, we could end this. This could be over. Who the hell are you, son? You came in yesterday to have that kind of stance. It was them that got their fighter beaten because of their attitude, complacency.
Then Del Boy and Anthony Joshua got it, talking about the good old days at the Finchley gym. Don and Joshua have different accounts of how they met. Apparently Anthony Joshua said that he met Don at a petrol station, and Don said, no, I met Chisora at a petrol station. He said he met Joshua when he was driving and Joshua was either driving or in a car, and they flagged Don over, and Anthony said, I've only had 9 amateur fights, I need a gym, and then they hooked up. Don takes it from there.
I saw the piece. Then he went ahead to say, yeah, and I used to spar Derek. Then I called him up to say, don't come to the gym anymore. Lie. I'm going to tell my own story, how it happened. I've got video evidence for the whole thing. So don't dismiss me like that. That's not fair. I deserve better than that. You and Derek Chisora, who asked me to stop training you. Hence why me and you parted. Yeah? Now he's with you, one of the cheerleaders. Chisora, this is. If you know what these people have done to me, yeah? Shameful. And all I've done for all of them is of good. Yeah? All of them.
Do you want to expand on that?
No.
Hell no.
He replied,
I think Don, coming off the man flu and some of the stories that he saw pre-fight, one particularly shook him up. He said some ex-boxer, I don't know if it was a video or an article, said that Daniel was going to be hospitalized in the Joshua fight. And Don really took that to heart. He was upset about that. And, you know, hence the fire.
Bumbleclad shoot up on fire, man.
Boxing,
Beats and rhymes.
no one can do it better.
Before going on about it, I just want to add to what Eddie said. Why is there criticism here? I don't get this whatsoever. You know, a small minority of people complaining about a national anthem. The clue is in the name. It's called RIYADH season.
Life is so simple. Like, Frank broke it down clinically. It's in the name. RIYADH season. Right? Okay. It's a Saudi Arabian operation. And like Eddie Hearn said after, you had members of the media complaining that all the good fights in the UK are getting taken out the UK. And then when they put a card on in the UK with UK fighters, and it was more than a card, there was literally 5 events on from Monday to Friday. Then Saturday, we had the big card at Wembley Stadium. What is it that some people expect from the Saudis? What is it they expect? Covered the sports washing the other day, and journalists were banned from the AJ Dubois event. Simon Jordan, we must stop selling our sporting soul to the Saudis. I don't like the sense that everything in this country is there solely to be bought. I found it a tad perplexing to sit in our own Wembley Stadium on Saturday night and listen to the national anthem of Saudi Arabia. We must stop selling our sporting soul to the Saudis, who have undermined free speech in this country, and must respect our history and culture. Now let's deal with the freedom of speech thing. I mean, is anyone stopping this motherfucker from talking? Nobody's stopping him from talking. He's talking all the time, yeah? Just because people don't want to hear what you got to say where they are, doesn't mean it's a violation of freedom of speech, yeah? Nonsense. You can go to other countries, or I'm not going to mention on the video, other parts in the world where censorship and freedom of speech is a real thing. Someone needs to tell him that if it wasn't for Frank Warren and Eddie Hearn, he wouldn't have no boxing to cover on TalkSport. They wouldn't cover it. They wouldn't cover it because it just wouldn't get enough listeners without the traffic that Queensberry and Matchroom are bringing. I tell you what, right? There was no international British boxing until the Hearn, Anthony Joshua, Carl Froch era, Matchroom USA. There was no international boxing. No disrespect to Frank, he's kicking Eddie's ass. But let's not forget where it started. Stadium fights, big pay-per-view events. And here's the thing. He expects Eddie and Frank not to cream it as much as they can for themselves, for DAZN, for TNT, for Matchroom, for Queensberry, and more importantly, the fighters. And as Frank said, he's got nothing to be ashamed about with all the money he's making. Daniel Dubois is over 7-8 years of investment for Frank Warren. Anthony Joshua is 11 years of investment from Eddie Hearn and Matchroom. Carl Froch, let me tell you this, Carl Froch fought on the road because he was struggling to get TV dates on ITV, him and Amir Khan, two of our biggest names. Then when he went over to Sky and Matchroom, the screw slowly but surely started to turn. There's been a lot of investment. There's been a lot of investment from both promoters. Frank Warren has been part promoting Tyson Fury since 2013, 2014 with Mick Hennessy. Then Hennessy slid out of the picture. The boxers, TNT, Matchroom, DAZN, Queensberry, are getting the fruits from their labour. The Saudis could have went to any other country to get promoters, and they came to Britain. Yeah? And it's envy and hatred that some people have in the media, and just working class people too. The UK has some of the most red-eye, jealous, hating people you'll find on the planet. You know, if you was glass half full, you could celebrate that the British promoters are setting templates of how boxing should be done. You could do that, but instead he shits on them.
You've got a wry smile on your face, Mr. Jordan.
That's a question for young Eddie over there. Well, what do we need these guys for? They're glorified agents. What do we need them for? We can own the fighters. We can talk direct to the fighters. If I was the money in the room, unless there was a bloody good reason, why would I want to deal with Hearn and Warren? If I've got the ability to turn out their lights economically, what do I need them for?
You know who it's really disrespectful? It's not disrespectful to Eddie. Because Eddie, 2012 or whatever he got on the scene, he's done a great job. But we're talking about Frank Warren, who went from white-collar boxing to the Grosvenor House in 1980 when he got his British license. And that grind, having to displace one of the powerfulest promotional packs, not in British boxing, but in boxing all time, the Cartel. Displacing them, working with the likes of Don King, developing champions, Johnny Nelson, Terry Marsh, Joe Calzaghe, Nassim Hamed, Ricky Han, Amir Khan. You're going to talk to that man like that? Do you know how much respect Frank Warren has in the boxing world? It's very disrespectful. Like, none of that counts to why he's being sought out by Saudi Arabia. Of course, it's disrespect to Eddie as well. It's very disrespectful. The Matchroom dynasty with Barry and his son Eddie. You're just glorified agents. That's mad disrespectful. Mad disrespectful. And they shouldn't be taking this. They should have a blanket ban on TalkSport, period. No more Jim White saying, oh, come on, Frank. Let us on, please. No. Blanket ban. Look at the women's fights on this weekend. You got Baumgardner versus Pursoon. That's not on Matchroom. But I believe Alicia still might have a fight left on Matchroom. Right? You got Sandy Ryan versus Michaela Meyer. That's not on Matchroom, it's on Top Rank. Sandy Ryan is a Matchroom fighter. She defends the WBO welterweight title. That's on Friday at the MSG. I'm rooting for Sandy. Then you've got Raven Chapman versus Sky Nicholson on October the 12th on the undercard of Beterbiev and Bivol. Who brought back women's boxing? It was Eddie Hearn and Katie Taylor. The new era after the Cartel. Eubank, Ben, Watson. Who were the main promoters in these cards? It was Barry and Frank. But Simon just skips over all this and calls them glorified agents. Frank Warren delivered the first pay-per-view to the UK. Mike Tyson versus Frank Bruno. That was our first pay-per-view. 1996. A 6-day event from Monday to Saturday. I didn't see anywhere where it was Saudi Arabian influence at all, right? It was a British event aside from the 20 seconds I believe the Saudi Arabian national anthem went on for. Simon's acting like they're trying to indoctrinate the British public with Sharia law. Stop it now.
I don't understand it. What is wrong with these people? What could you not have loved about Saturday night? Are you not happy that someone from another country has put all of their efforts and time and money into delivering an iconic event for our country, for British sport, for opportunities for our fighters? What are you not happy about? I don't understand. Are you saying they shouldn't be here? The fucking most ridiculous, almost borderline racist point that you could possibly make.
Boxing.
Beats and rhymes.
No one can do it better.
Chris, you're back, and it's good to see you back as well. New promotional team, new trainer for this camp as well. On the promotional team, you've chosen boxer. Why?
Why boxer? Because every other promoter out here is a scumbag. That's why. You know, we've got Frank Warren behind me, been lying and cheating his way through boxing for the last couple of decades. Sued me for a couple $100,000 a few years ago, so obviously I was never going to go with him. You know, the guy's a scumbag. KALLE Sauerland, you know, had me locked up.
Speak up, I can't hear you.
KALLE Sauerland had me locked up in a terrible contract for the last few years, squeezing money out of me at every opportunity. Scumbag. Eddie Hearn, Frank Smith, you know, they did everything they could to try and make this fight against Conor Benn still go ahead. Still go ahead.
Why do you fight Hamza Sharad, scumbag?
After knowing that they, you know, that he was on steroids. Scumbags, you know. I would say the only.
Why do you ask?
I would say the only promoter that I know for
fighters?
sure isn't a scumbag is His Excellency Turki Al-Sheikh. You know, this is a man who isn't trying to take money from fighters. He isn't trying to use lawyers and accountants to lock fighters up in slave contracts. You know, he's a man of God. He's a man of religion. That's what's most important to the people of Saudi Arabia. He just wants to put the biggest fights on, the best events on, and pay fighters what they're worth. And as a fighter, you know, it's a blessing to be a fighter at this moment in time, because this is the first time we've ever had a promoter like this in the history of boxing. Oh, and you know, Ben Shalom's a very cool guy too.
Eddie and Frank Smith, who's married to Eubank's sister, tried to put the fight on, knowing that Conor was on steroids, when the evidence is suggesting they knew when Conor popped the same time that Chris knew. And allegedly, Chris tried to extort Eddie, Conor, Frank Smith, for extra money to take the fight because Conor popped for clofamine, not a steroid. I like the way he sucked up to Turkey, though. You know what I mean? Man, sucked up to Turkey good.
Is His Excellency Turki Al-Sheikh. You know, this is a man who isn't trying to take money from fighters. He isn't trying to use lawyers and accountants to lock fighters up in slave contracts.
Yeah. Try to protect the bag, huh? Hey, listen. Hopefully Eddie and Frank don't have words and use their influence to get you out of good situations. Be careful. Like, Frank's right. Hamza Shearers is that dude at 160. Yeah? You know what I would like Conor Benn to do? Is say, nah, I don't need that fight no more. That's what I would like. But, you know, Eddie's still chasing it. Frank Smith's still chasing it. Chris is still chasing it. I did hear Conor say he's going a different direction the other day. Because he's going to get licensed soon, I'm assuming. Go fight Hamza Sheeraz. Hamza Sheeraz is hot shit right now. Didn't you see that performance just the other day? And then he had the Amo Williams beat down. It was a really good win. And before that, he knocked someone out in a round who Chris laboured with in a distance fight, Liam Williams. Go fight Hamza Sheeraz, son. Or go fight Johnny Beck. Could have fought Johnny Beck for the 2 titles. So all that, promoters are scum. Yeah, they're scum. Of course they're scum. They're not stopping Chris from taking some proper fights, though. Let's keep it a bean.
As regarding what you just said, just so you know, I'm going to keep it short and sweet, he's going to get sued again for the comments that he's made publicly.
Those comments were, he said, you've been lying and cheating your way
Are
through
you
boxing.
listening to what I just said? And if you carry on, you'll get it as well, because you're publishing it by saying that. So I'm just telling you straight how it is. He will be sued, and he will have a problem over that. And anybody else who says it, they can get in that queue with it.
Today has just been pure smoke. Frank's threatening to sue Talk Sport, as well as Eubank. Warren obviously not best pleased, you know. He told Talk Sport, I wasn't next to him, I was behind him, and the speakers weren't facing outwards, so he couldn't quite hear all what was being said. And I didn't even know about this, but in 2016, Eubank withdrew from a British title clash with Tommy Langford. I believe Eubank was British champion and he was supposed to defend against Tommy, and he withdrew, breach of contract. How much Eubank had to pay out was not disclosed, but Frank said he paid substantial damages. So Eubank is still sore from that. I don't know where the outburst came from with Chris. I don't know where it came from, but Frank responded.
Threw his toys out the pram because he was on the bottom table. I think that's the main thing, but no, that'll be dealt with. No comment on that one. We'll let that be dealt with.
Was it out of the blue? Do you think personal? Where do you think that's kind of stemmed from?
Be told what to say, probably. But, you know, I mean, pretty wild, but, you know, it's okay. If you're going to say things, sometimes you have to live by those words.
Eddie didn't get as animated as Frank, but he said it will be dealt with, no comment. If you're going to say things, sometimes you got to live by them words. Could be another lawsuit. Maybe the Sauerlands are going to be looking at that contract that Chris said they were squeezing him for money. They might take him to court too. Hopefully Ben Shalom's got his back. If the writs start coming out, you know what I mean? Chris turned Frank back into Frank the Writ. That was one of his old nicknames. He's been doing all he can to stay out of the courtroom because it's not good PR to sign fighters. But today,
I'm catching a flashback.
Eddie believes that Eubank was told what to say by who? Ben Shalom? To try and get at Eddie? I doubt it very much because he got at Frank the most. The Sauerlands as well. I believe it was at the Grand Arrivals with Willie Hutchinson and Joshua Boatsi, where Eddie was on the stage with Frank Warren and Ben Shalom, who promote both the fighters, and he told Eddie, oh, I didn't realize that these were your fighters, like, why you on stage? And Eddie lost his cool, he lost his rag, apparently, and told him, I'll knock you out. Why did Eddie lose his rag like that? I guess because there was talk of a Joshua Boatsi lawsuit because of how he left from Matchroom to go over to Boxer. Did Boxer make an illegal approach and poach Boatsi in a breach of contract? There was apparently some dodgy guy involved in the deal who went to prison for fixing cricket matches. And I think Ben knows how to wind Eddie up. And then after that, Ben ran around to the media. Look, he threatened to knock me out. I didn't do anything.
Liam Cameron, October 12th. Yeah, how does you feel? Riyadh season on one of them big shows.
You know, it's just another buddy in front of me, man. What are you saying, big man? You good?
Don't want to get in your interviews because I want to get into trouble. All I'll say is I'll see you soon.
There we go, man. That's the thumbnail.
Listen, I mean, like, Eddie's made it quite vocal of potentially working together in the future, so...
You know, man, I ain't saying too much, man.
It is a little childish what's happening between Eddie Hearn and Ben Shalom. Amusing, though. I don't know if Eddie's just trying to wind Ben Shalom up here, because Ben Whitaker did hint a few months back that Sky Sports set him up with Ezra from Ghana to come and talk shit to him, and then he eventually fought him. And he was hinting that he could be leaving Boxer. There was an Eddie Hearn tweet, and he thumbs it up. And the tweet was suggesting, yeah, he's coming over here. And how he replied there, it wasn't like ringing out that, yeah, I was staying with Ben Shalom, I'm loyal to Ben. And I believe his contract is up after the Liam Cameron fight on October the 12th. So that would be interesting. Eddie just looked too smug and confident the way he walked up to him.
Don't want to get in your interviews because I want to get into trouble. All I'll say is I'll see you soon.
He knows Ben ain't going to like that. And he'll like it even less if it departs from Sky to DAZN and Matchroom. However, all the drama was crushed by the time I woke up this morning. Boxer make a statement. Chris Eubank Jr. makes a statement. Following press conference for the historic Riyadh season event on October the 12th, I would like to retract my inaccurate statements and offer my apologies to Frank Warren, Eddie Hearn and KALLE SAURELAND. I now wish to focus purely on boxing and preparing for a huge fight in Riyadh next month. Frank Warren, he made a statement. I accept Chris's apology and retraction. I too have said things before and apologized to him. Also, if any criticism of him has upset him in the past, I look forward to seeing him compete on this huge Riyadh season card. We look ahead to some potentially massive bouts in the future. You see, before the Saudi influence, this would have went to a lawsuit. Just like Eddie Hearn, Frank Warren and Ben Shalom would be at loggerheads, some bullshit Cold War politics that never benefited us, the consumer. Turkey is having none of it. Clean it up ASAP by tomorrow morning and we get on with October the 12th. Nothing overshadows October the 12th. Clean it up, Chris. Clean it up, Frank. Clean it up, Ben. There's no Turkey al-Sheikh worship. That's fucking ridiculous, you know. Like, it's just the fact that somebody is cleaning it up how it should be cleaned up. A lot of the news that is reported from boxing media should never get to our ears. And he's cleaning a lot of that up. Within a couple of days, this will be forgotten. If the Saudi influence wasn't there, it would have carried on. Chris would be on social media today, taking more shots at Eddie, Frank. Then Eddie would be on IFL, half-an-hour video talking about Eubank. Frank the same thing, Sauerland's the same thing, Chris on there, same thing, and that becomes the news. Talk Sport get it, start sensationalizing it. But in a couple of days, it will be a non-story. October the 12th, undisputed fight between Artur Beterbiev and Dimitri Bivol. Fabio Wardley versus Fraser Clark. Strictly business.
Because I'm strictly business.
Boxing. Beats and rhymes.
No one can do it better.